Backstage news on a reported meeting between AEW CEO, President, General Manager and Head of Creative Tony Khan and the returning CM Punk ahead of the Second City Savior's upcoming return at the premiere episode of AEW Collision at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois next month. Speaking of Collision, talent in AEW is reportedly worried about the travel and increased travel associated with the new show's launch. A long-term match that had been planned for Double or Nothing has reportedly been cancelled. Details on which match that is. A trios title match has also been teased for Double or Nothing this weekend, and also a match that was reportedly planned for Forbidden Door is now possibly under threat. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. And let's start off talking about, once again, CM Punk and AEW President Tony Khan. Now, it must be said, throughout all of the discussion of the issues between CM Punk and AEW Collision, Punk not being announced with the show's launch last week, now obviously the United Center being announced as the location for the premiere episode of AEW Collision, etc., etc. One thing that has been reported quite widely is that in actuality, the relationship between AEW President, CEO, founder Tony Khan and CM Punk is reportedly still on solid footing and actually quite strong. Now, while it was not announced during the May 24 edition of AEW Dynamite, CM Punk is officially on his way back to All Elite Wrestling, and the 44-year-old is scheduled to return on the debut episode of Collision on Saturday, June 17. It was revealed on Dynamite that the premiere of Collision will emanate from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, the same venue where Punk made his AEW debut back in August of 2021. Although it is once again planned, CM Punk's return to AEW looked less than certain over the past week after it emerged that the two-time AEW World Champion had been pulled from the launch of Collision on May 17 due to issues with AEW over the status of Ace Steel. Punk's friend was reportedly re-signed by AEW at some point over the last several months, and the working plan was for Steel to be back on the road with the promotion after the launch of Collision. CM Punk was informed last week, however, that Steel would not be at the TV tapings, a decision which Punk disagreed with. The two sides, though, have been in regular contact over the past week, with reports noting that Punk had to sign several documents relating to speaking about certain subjects, disparagement clauses, NDAs, ensuring he appears at the television dates, etc., etc. We spoke about that earlier on this morning. But Dave Meltzer has also reported today, and obviously Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, he's also reported that CM Punk and Tony Khan had a final meeting this past week, which is believed to have, quote, went well. A number of issues were worked out at the meeting, including an agreement that nobody will speak publicly about Brawl Out. As I mentioned, those NDAs, those non-disparagement clauses, those guarantees that he was going to be at these Collision dates, protecting AEW as well. Upon his return on June 17, CM Punk is expected to face Samoa Joe before eventually moving on to a program with MJF, some people are speculating, over the AEW World Championship. Of course, one thing we do know about AEW Collision is that the champions, they will be appearing on both Collision and Dynamite, whereas the talent who are not currently holding titles in AEW will be subject to somewhat of a hard roster split. Again, how AEW is going to do that roster split, if they're going to have a draft, if they're going to use what was known as the transfer portal, we don't know. But one thing's for sure, the AEW Collision show is seemingly going to be centered around none other than CM Punk. Now, when it comes to AEW Collision, of course, it means a brand new live show every Saturday, 2 hours, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on TNT. But that will also mean, in addition to more wrestling for us to watch, it will actually mean that talent will have to travel more. Now, All Elite Wrestling's schedule is set to become busier next month following the reveal that Collision, a new Saturday night show from the promotion, will air on TNT in the United States from June 17. It didn't take long for issues to arise following the official launch of Collision on May 17, however. CM Punk was planned, as I mentioned, to be a part of the promotional materials for the launch of the show, but he was pulled from the announcement after he and AEW ended up at odds over the status of Ace Steel, something which has now been resolved. Reports ahead of the fallout noted that Punk was scheduled to be the star of Collision, as he has been influential in organising the roster with Samoa Joe, Thunder Rosa, Powerhouse Hobbs, Miro and Andrade El Idolo set to be the headline talents on the show. While the issues between CM Punk and AEW have since been resolved and the 44-year-old is scheduled to make his return on the debut episode of the show, PW Torch has reported there was some concern from various talents before the reconciliation about the potential schedule they'd be asked to work, with one wrestler stating that they did not sign up for working 2 TV tapings every week. Collision with CM Punk on board will reportedly lead to some sort of roster split in AEW, so those concerns have seemingly been resolved as of right now. The concern previously was that if Punk wasn't on board, they would need star power on that show. Therefore, people that were appearing on Dynamite on Wednesday would also have to appear live on Collision on Saturday. Now that Punk is seemingly locked into Collision, that's probably not going to be the case. But there are still questions about the viability of AEW Collision when it comes to ticket sales, though, with the promotion having suffered from a difficult first week in that department when it comes to a lot of the first Collision shows, particularly in Canada. To potentially get people through the door, PW Torch speculated that AEW could book Dynamite's top wrestlers in dark matches at Collision tapings, similar to what WWE do for Raw and SmackDown. This would ultimately require some talents to work an extra TV taping, and PW Torch noted that several wrestlers have expressed concern about the number of travel days each week, if indeed that is the plan. Of course, more ultimately will be revealed about AEW's plans for Collision TV tapings after the show premieres on June 17. Now, one person seemingly who is going to be making their return as part of the Collision TV tapings isn't just CM Punk, isn't just Miro, isn't just Andrade El Idolo, but someone else could be making their return as well. As I mentioned, this new Saturday night show is set to premiere on June 17 from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, along with CM Punk's planned spot as the star of the show. The likes of Samoa Joe, Thunder Rosa, Miro, Andrade El Idolo, and Powerhouse Hobbs have been confirmed as headliners for the series. Well, not officially announced so far for Collision, Scorpio Sky has teased he will be involved with the show, as he tweeted a clip from a promo video for Collision which shows him taping up his wrists. Now, Sky, he's not been on AEW for a while. He's not been seen on AEW programming for close to a year since he dropped the TNT Championship to Wardlow in July 2022. The former SCU member was a featured performer during the first half of the year, having had 2 reigns as TNT champion in total. Sky took time off after dropping the belt to Wardlow due to injury, but it emerged in November of last year that the former Men of the Year member had been cleared for an in-ring return for some time, and AEW simply didn't have any plans for him. There was then speculation about Sky's long-term future with AEW after it emerged earlier this year that he hadn't been backstage in months. However, Sky signed a 5-year extension with AEW back in September 2021, meaning he's tied to the promotion until 2026 unless he's released, which of course is something that AEW doesn't really tend to do. So it looks like certainly Scorpio Sky is going to be one of these names, along with the likes of Miro, Thunder Rosa, Andrade, etc. Those names that maybe have kind of got lost on AEW programming that will be featured on AEW Collision. Now, Double or Nothing is this weekend, but it looks like the planned match between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland isn't going to happen. All Elite Wrestling have pulled a match from Double or Nothing. Reports in April revealed that Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland were finally scheduled to face off in singles action at the May 28 pay-per-view in Las Vegas, but the match was never made official, and both men were involved in the show-closing brawl between entrants in the Blackjack Battle Royale on Wednesday night's Rampage taping. That episode will air at midnight Eastern Time on Saturday, May 27. Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that Lee and Strickland will be participants in the Battle Royale for the AEW International Championship, meaning their planned singles match is off the pay-per-view. Now, why AEW decided not to book Lee versus Strickland for the show is unknown, but Meltzer speculated that AEW could be saving the match for All In on August 28th. Of course, this has been a match that has been teased for a long time. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee were initially a tag team in AEW, but they split in December, or really late November 2022. They have been feuding since then, but have only met in the squared circle once when Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes defeated Strickland and Parker Boudreaux on a March episode of AEW Rampage. So, do you think it's a case of AEW saving it for a later date, or is it a case of just the match has lost any momentum and people don't really care to see this match? Is that why it's cancelled? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. Now, speaking of Double or Nothing this weekend, a trios title match has also been teased. The Saturday, May 27 edition of AEW Rampage looks set to have even more ramifications for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. This week's Rampage was taped following a live Dynamite on Wednesday, May 24 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn were in action on the show as they defeated Roosh, Dralistico and Preston Vance in trios action. The babyfaces scored the win after Max Caster pinned Drolistico. Rampage might not be Daddy Ass and the Acclaim's only match, though, this week. The trio cut a promo following their victory on Rampage, in which they said they had been running through the trios division, and now it was time to do some gambling since they're in Las Vegas. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn then teased that gambling would pay off with a match against the House of Black for the AEW World Trios Championships at Double or Nothing. Since moving away from the tag team division, the Acclaimed have gone 5-0 with Billy Gunn at their side in trios matches. They also won the Tres de Mayo Battle Royale in early May. So obviously, the House of Black, they've been the AEW World Trios champions since defeating the Elite for the bouts in March at AEW Revolution. So maybe, just maybe, we're going to be getting a trios championship match this coming weekend at Double or Nothing. And finally, a match for Forbidden Door that people thought was going to happen and certainly was teased at one point now looks unlikely. A planned match at the joint AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door pay-per-view on Sunday, June 25th is likely to be delayed. A clash between FTR and Aussie Open at Forbidden Door was teased earlier this year, and Dave Meltzer reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that the match was planned for the pay-per-view. Mark Davis recently underwent surgery on a torn meniscus. However, that will likely keep him out of action for 6 to 8 weeks beyond June 25th. Quote, the way the timeline looks, unless he's somehow back in a miraculous amount of time from the surgery, the FTR and Aussie Open match won't take place at Forbidden Door. Maybe, that could easily go to Wembley. I mean, in fact, now that I think about it, I think that's a great idea for Wembley. Originally, all signs led to Aussie Open versus FTR for Forbidden Door. It doesn't look like Davis will make it for Forbidden Door, said Meltzer. FTR, of course, are the reigning AEW World Tag Team Champions, having defeated the Guns for the gold on the April 5th edition of AEW Dynamite. Aussie Open have primarily wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were the IWGP Tag Team Champions and the New Japan Strong Tag Team Champions, but the bouts were vacated on May 21st due to Davis's injury. It was announced on the May 24 episode of Dynamite that Davis and Fletcher had signed with AEW, though, so again, that match likely could be taking place later on this year. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner and let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below, and I'll speak with you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.